We're going to continue writing equations of piecewise functions. Here we have two different graphs. Remember, when we're coming up with our equations, what we want to do is come up with our general model. With this one right here, what we notice is we see an asymptote that gives us a general idea of what it's going to be. It doesn't necessarily have to have an asymptote, but in this case, it gives us a clue that it's going to be exponential. Now, when we're trying to figure out if it's exponential, what we're doing is we're seeing the 3 points, and we notice that it goes up once, then it goes up twice, so it's doubling. So that tells us that the exponential model is a 2. If we're looking at our starting point, notice that it's shifted to the right 2, so that would be x minus 2. And then if we're looking at it, the asymptote's right at 0, so we're not adding or subtracting anything. So this right here is our model. Now, if we're looking at the second one, the key point is our middle point. This right here is a cubic function. So what we have is a cube root of x minus h plus k. The central point right here is the ordered pair 1, negative 1. Notice that it's just going up 1 and down 1, so that means our a value is 1. So what we have is the cube root of x minus 1. That means it shifts to the right 1. And it's going down 1, so we're going to put minus 1. Now for the easy part, coming up with the domain. Domain's really easy because we see where it starts. It starts at 2. For the first one, it's going to the right. It's closed, so x is greater than or equal to 2. And then for the other one, it's going to the left. So x is less than 2. Now, looking at letter E, what we have is a flipped model of what we have right over here. So notice that this right here is a decay model. So if it's a decay model, then instead of 2, it's going to be 1/2. Notice that it's shifted, this one is shifted to the left 2. So we're going to put x plus 2. And it's right at 0 also, so we're not adding or subtracting anything. Now with this model right here, what we have is a square root function. Remember, y equals a x minus h plus k. Our starting point is pivotal. That would be -2, -2. Notice that most square root functions go up like this. This one is going down. That tells us that our a value is a negative. So this is a negative square root of x plus 2 minus 2. Now for the easy part, the domain. Notice that it's starting at -2. X is less than or equal to -2. And then with our second one, x is greater than -2. Now, for our last one, what we have is an absolute value function. If you remember, y equals a absolute value of x minus h plus k. Our vertex here is -2 and -1. Notice that it's going up 2 over 2. So 2 over 2 is 1. So our a value is just 1. That would be the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 1. Now, the one right here is a little confusing. I see that it's going up 2, but then it doesn't tell me what's happening here. I see the asymptote, so that gives me a hint that it's exponential. So if I were to plug in a 0, I'm thinking my model might look like this because of the asymptote, but I'm going to double check that. If I plug in a 0, anything to the 0 is 1. 1 minus 2 is -1, so that point works. But if I plug in a 1, 2 to the 1 is 2, minus 2 is 0. That is not at 0, it's at 1. So I know that it can't be 2. It looks like it might be 3. And once again, the reason why I'm guessing is because I only have 2 points to go off of. I don't have 3. So it's difficult to tell when I only have 2 points, unless if it's linear. So I'm going to guess 3 to the x. If I plug in a 0, 3 to the 0 is 1, 1 minus 2, that works. For this one, if I plug in a 1, 3 minus 2 is 1. 1, 1, that one works, so I have my model. Now for the easy part, my domain. If I'm looking at my domain, it's at 0. For the absolute value, it's to the left, so x is less than or equal to 0. Then for my exponential, it's going to the right, so x is greater than 0.